Hi, everyone. Zeke Torres, and thanks for continuing to be interested in Git. This segment talks about pull requests. So, in earlier segments, we talked about what branches were and how we make changes in our branches, and we then make commits to track the things we've done and keep a log or a history or chronology of what was done, a documentation, so to speak. And after we've done that, what we then do is we push things up to the remote repositories so that they're there for everybody to see. But after we've done that, our GitHub desktop should be basically indicating that there's something we can do next, which is creating a pull request. And what that does, it initiates a set of actions that allow us to confirm, acknowledge, lock in, finalize those changes to that branch, and continue with other actions from that point on. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can do that either here via the GitHub desktop screen where we can create a pull request. And it's actually kind of, a very simple action because it'll actually pull us into the GitHub window on our Chrome Explorer, whatever web browser you're using. So I want to say that before I do that because I don't want people to think that I've switched things. So if we did that via GitHub desktop, it would switch us over to the browser. But if we go right to the browser itself directly, what we end up seeing is basically the same type of rendition. Here it is. In our browser, we see that that branch has had pushes happen to it from wherever they sourced from, and now we have the ability to create an action where we can initiate a pull request. So let's start it from our GitHub desktop. We'll create a pull request, and you're going to see the window basically flicker over back to the remote repository. And so there we are, and it opened a pull request ticket. Now I want to walk through sections of this screen for the purpose of informing you on what they are. And then towards the end of this segment, I'll go through and create the final transactions. In an earlier segment, I described when we initiated this repository, if we go into settings, we can invite other people or tweak the security, tweak the privacy. And if we'd invited other people, they could participate as reviewers here in this pull request process. The pull request process is meant to be a bureaucratic step to allow our code to be protected by having either us review it one more time or somebody else help us review it. And so that becomes very important because we don't just want to blindly save and mesh everything we've done with our pristine or protected intended copy of code that's supposed to be in our main branch or our master branch, or maybe another team branch like our monthly reporting branch or our annual reporting branch. So normally a pull request is meant to seek somebody else's reviewing or just taking a look at what we've done and making sure that we haven't missed anything, but we get some additional actions. We can start to label things. We can start to associate these with projects. We can start to tag these things with milestones. And I really tell people that those additional actions like labels, projects, milestones, and linking to other issues are really things to look at later as you become more comfortable with Git. The one that might be useful is assignees, and that's in case you step away from really developing something or working on this and somebody else is really meant to help you answer the questions that a reviewer or somebody who's needed to approve this might come up with so that you can continue to move this project forward. So another part of the screen is that we need to talk about is this branch that we created called some branch with the changes that we've done. If we initiate this pull request and complete it, the intended action is that the changes from that will go and become part of the main branch if we choose, right? If it gets approved, if it matches whatever bureaucratic criteria the team decides to have. Now, at this point, we can actually pick a different branch or a different destination for the sum branch that example that we have to be merged with or to continue on with, to be compared with. So we're going to go ahead and leave it that way. We're satisfied that the work that we've done in that branch should become part of the main branch. And so I'm going to give this a better title. This looks like a commit, right? I mean, this is an action where we're allowed to make some documentation and some notes. And so I want it to explain better to somebody who's going to review this what we've done or what we've tried to do in order for them to review it comprehensively. And then those comments, that action will be recorded. It'll be part of the log, the history of the repository. So made updates to code, created SQL and monthly code with approval. So then I'm going to write something about it. Now, what's nice here is that we actually can, improve the look of the things that we're going to type. We can actually link to some other places that might have, either supporting documentations. We can include and attach files. So I would recommend in some cases, if somebody's emailed some kind of approval notification or some kind of document that relates to the scope of work, this is where we want to add it. And the reason we want to do that is because it becomes part of the Git repository, so we can track that. And so other people can see that if they move forward with the work that they do with the repository, and they don't have to hunt down a person so that that next person can find an email that they had somewhere in their inbox. So made changes to the code, added a monthly SAS component and a SQL join that works well. And so I could add additional details. I can even add images, or attachments. So really pretty informative. And again, if I had team members associated with this, I can pick them so that they can be part of the pull request process. So I'm going to go ahead and create the pull request. And now the screen's going to change. And what's happening is the Git repository via GitHub is starting to check and confirm whether or not the changes in the branch that's called some branch have any conflicts or issues with the branch they are destined to become a part of. So what we end up seeing are places where we can dig in deeper and check the changes. You can start to see that if I just even hover over the two files that this message is saying have been changed and committed, it starts to show with the pop-up and the hover what the context of those changes are. But not only that, I can click on it and I can go right to what that commit was and see the changes in green because those lines were added. And so I can come back and I can go to the next one and see what those changes are associated with that commit. So I can go back again. And in this scenario, let's review. We created a pull request. We had initiated it here with GitHub desktop. That action, because it was done with a create a pull request, it's gone now. GitHub desktop knows that it's been synced up. And so now we went to our GitHub repository in the remote, on the cloud. The option to create a pull request is gone because it's already been created. And so if we go to this section where it tracks the open pull requests, if you're on a very busy repository, you could have many open pull requests, and you can start to actually sort those by a variety of different, you know, who the authors are there labels, are these associated with projects, are these associated with the milestone? Do you remember those sections that we saw when we actually created the pull request? This is where it comes in handy. And again, I don't want to explore those too much in this kind of orientation media because I'm just trying to give you the overview. And so we can actually see this pull request in detail and see if we want to, make updates, check something else out, one of the useful things if I was a reviewer is I can come in here and actually make comments. And by making those comments, it stops the pull request process until somebody actually answers and resolves those comments. Now that's pretty cool because what I recommend for teams to try or to explore, and it's coming in a subsequent segment here soon, is we want our non-technical colleagues who are participating in projects. Now, these could be clinicians, these could be, project managers. We want them to interact with Git in this realm via like GitHub Desktop or Jira, because those individuals can contribute via the pull request review and approval process. We need them to participate in a very simple way as reviewers and to look at the changes that we're making and approve them, reject them, make comments, participate so that their input is also chronicled and cataloged in the repository. Many teams struggle because our technical colleagues are busy doing version control and changes, and all that's great. Unfortunately, what happens is the project managers who are not often technical or who are not often able to keep up with the pace of changes, those colleagues miss out on the ability to make final approvals, final reviews, to check something and make sure that it meets the right criteria, the right standards. If we just give them an orientation, a high level one as to how they can participate with the pull request process and add their input, their insights with approvals, rejections, and comments to key parts of places where we need, as developers, that final confirmation. It really makes the team more well-rounded and much more healthier because those approvals, those rejections, those comments now become part of the team repository. So in this example, I created my pull request. I'm satisfied with the changes that were there. I can see the difference between those changes, and I want to go ahead and finish the review process. So I'm going to go into my pull request ticket. I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to merge my pull requests. I'm going to add in, we've seen the various changes, so we know what's there. So I'm going to add in that made updates to this code with approval. The team reviewed this and the changes were approved. So I'm going to confirm the merge. Now, here's the difference. What's happening is a commit is something that stays on a branch, but a pull request is meant to chronicle those commits and lock them in, but take an additional action branch to branch. That's distinct. Now, the message that returned from that is that the pull request was successfully merged and closed. So that bureaucratic ticket, that bureaucratic action of reviewing that branch, the changes, and doing something additionally with another branch has been completed. And I have the option of completing the branch that sourced those changes to its destination. So the branch called some branch has been merged and its commits into the main branch. They are now together. They're basically coalesced. They're brought together. If I don't delete the branch, and I don't need to, you don't need to, if I don't delete it, there'll just be many branches, and that could be okay. There could be many reasons why we want to leave those branches out there. But for most personal work, it's often better to do some cleanup of work branches or iterative branches, things that we're testing and evaluating. If it's time to do that, and if you've already merged it or created a pull request and are satisfied that it's done and it's over, just to make sure that the clutter of branches doesn't get too excessive. So for right now, I'm not going to delete it. I want to show you how those extra branches look. So let's jump over to the top of our repository. And if you look here, we still have two branches. We have the main branch and we have the sum branch. And I want to show you a few little details here that tie back to those SHAs, those unique indexes. So our two branches, we can toggle between them, and we can see via the overview that there are different choices on how to look at different branches that are out there for us to manage. And this is showing that the sum branch is mine. And if there was other people with active branches, you would see it here under the active branches, not only mine, but those of others. But this is showing that it's already been merged. And I can go and see what the details are from that if I wish. I can start to see via the pop-up that it's been merged to main. So now that those two branches have been merged, I can actually take a look at the commits to get some information about the chronology, the history of what's happened. So remember that initial commit? So it's got that it was verified because we basically completed a pull request. And there's that unique or distinct identifier. And then we did some work and we have another set of unique identifiers, and we've just completed that pull request. This is the actions, this is the history of what happened on the main branch. Now it has a unique, distinct identifier to what happened, but look at this information. It's basically saying that there was a merge done via a pull request. It was the first one for this branch, from this branch to the main branch. And if we wish, we can actually see what took place with that merge or with the completion of that pull request. We can see what transpired or what was involved with that change that we approved or that we sought to approve with the pull request, the consequences of that pull request. So the pull requests allow us to manage and direct what long-term changes we're going to apply to other branches based on the merging or the joining, the coalescing of a branch that we're complete, that we've satisfied, are done, and are now ready to merge together. Our next segment is going to talk about if we made mistakes, how differences look between our code, and some of the advanced ways we can use our branches or mesh branches, merge branches together with each other.